guys, welcome. My name is Omeno Michelle. I make bookish content with a dash of craft. If you're new here, just like I am, welcome. I hope you stay. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn the notification bell on. Upload bookish videos every Tuesday. I hope we'll get to know each other more as we go along. So I want to talk about a book that I should have finished by now because it was my last month's fantasy book of the month. And the book is A Master of Djinn by P. Djinn Clark. I've been having quite an amazing year because this year I decided to delve into the fantasy genre, and when this club was being formed, this informal group, I had to jump in because when it comes to reading fantasy, it can be quite heavy on me, especially the world building. So the support system is really appreciated. Should be done with it by Sunday, 4th of September, because that's the day we discuss this book. So I'm on a time crunch, but the fact that it's short and that I'm enjoying it, that is a plus. So I decided to make a mini vlog of this book because it's quite unique. I think when it comes to fantasy, as much as I'll try reading from other authors, focus more on Afro fantasy. This is nice. Okay, let me tell you the synopsis of the book. The book is set in Egypt, Cairo, 1912. We follow Fatima, who is the youngest woman working for the Ministry of Alchemy, Enchantments, and Supernatural Entities, and she is quite good at her job. I actually dig her personality and her sense of dressing. And when the members of a secret brotherhood are murdered, Agent Fatima is called onto the case. The murder claims to be Al-Jahiz, who transformed the world 50 years ago when he opened the veil between the magical and mundane realms before vanishing into the unknown. Using dangerous magical abilities, he instigates unrest on the streets of Cairo that threatens to spill over onto the global stage. Agent Fatima must unravel the mystery behind this imposter to restore peace to the city, or face the possibility he could be exactly who he seems to be. And I can tell you from I'm on 48 pages in, from the description of this Al-Jahiz, he is quite scary, he's quite powerful, and so many people are afraid of what he can do. Currently, meanwhile, I am making a baby cocoon or a banty, so please allow me while I talk about my experience thus far with the book, that I cast a few lines of stitching. I bet you're wondering what the heck happened to the last clip, because this is not where we left off. Turns out your girl is not the very best of a storyteller. I remember when I was growing up, the days we used to have storytelling time and identity time, I used to hate those moments, and I usually used to hide behind other students. And now here the repercussions. You can't believe what I'm saying. Just check the next clip. Just check the aspect of, what is this aspect? What is it called? The adulators. They're called idol. So we're gonna give you girl another chance, and I'm grateful that I took up this YouTube channel. This will be a way for me to learn storytelling skills, right? So let's do a double take. So far, what has been my view of this book? The book started, Clark just threw in us into Cairo, as in threw in into action. Action begins, and I love that about the book. I read thriller and I enjoy when a book starts on a fast pace. It starts with this brotherhood of Al-Jahiz, a group of people who formed, a brotherhood in support of Al-Jahiz. Yes, these are some things he did that were profound, but then again, there are things that are questionable that the author tells us about what he did before he opened the realm between this world and the spiritual world. And it's like a cult worship from my point of view. So when it starts, somebody comes in, claims that they're Al-Jahiz, and tells this brotherhood that whatever you're doing is not right. You're using us. This brotherhood was mainly made of English people. Al-Jahiz was a Sudanese, if I'm not wrong. I stand to be corrected. And this impersonator, we still don't know if he's the real Al-Jahiz or an impersonator, because this is 50 years later after he did what he did in Cairo. So there's this one man who came in and quoted. Let me just read you that phrase. I was like, "Ooh, you hit that! You hit that on the nail." The man shouldered his way forward, pushing past others to stand before the black-clad figures, staring down their leader with all the impotence of aristocracy and youth. "I know for a fact you're not Al-Jahiz. Brothers, look over this specimen, tall with long arms and legs, a build typical to the tropical climes of Sudanese Negroes. But I contend Al-Jahiz was no Negro, but in fact a Caucasian." I was like, what the heck? The next thing that happens is that that would be a spoiler. But what followed was like, yeah, you got what you deserved. Who said that Al-Jahiz was white? And it's kind of like, I was like, this is something in relation to the Bible. Because there's always that debate whether Jesus was black or he was white. So I was like, okay, I see what you did there, Clark. I see what you did there. So the book started on a high note, and I'm really grateful for that. But it also has this Arab jargon that I'm still getting used to it. And then that was chapter 1. Then chapter 2, we are being introduced to our main character, Fatma. And it's another action because he's out there looking for a certain kettle. Let me call it a kettle, not a genie bottle. And then there is when we are introduced to a type of Djinn called married, and it was quite interesting. We could see the mental acuity of Fatima. She is quite intelligent, and she outdid the married. Let me just spoil that for you. I love the commentary that Clark is making on colonialism, this racism stuff, prejudice, as you have heard from that scene where the guy was like, Al-Jahiz was not a Negro, he was white. I was like, who told you? Who told you? And then you got what you deserve. See? So given that Fatima is quite good at her job, she's among the 4 female, understand to be corrected, I don't know, it's between 3 and 4. She's among the 4 women who are in the Ministry of Alchemy, Enchantments, and Special Entities. And given that there are only a few, they face quite a number of challenges because they are male workers. You know what happens in a male-dominated field. It's not easy for them. They have to prove themselves. So when Fatima gets a partner, she has never worked with anyone ever in her life, and it's a female, another special female. Fatima gives her a hard time, and there's something that the partner is called Hadia, and there's something amazing that she said to Fatima. She said, you could have let me be your partner instead of replacing me with the first great big man you could find. She made a frustrated sound, dropping her sword to her side. I was the only woman at the academy. You, of all people, know what that's like. Other than Auntie, most of my class barely interacted with me, as if just being cautious was somehow aib or worse, haram. The unsolicited lectures from male teachers on the dangers of women in the workplace were my favorite, as if their own grandmothers weren't probably selling goods out at the market or helping with the farming. I expected when I got assigned, I'd have to deal with people who didn't think I could measure up, who thought I was in the wrong place, who only saw some girl they'd stick behind a desk. But wallahi, I didn't think one of them would be you. This is something that a lot of women do to their fellow women, as if things are not hard enough. We try to make things hard for us. So when Hadia said that, I was like, whoa, I love that. I love that paragraph. This retort happened when Fatima got the wind that Al-Jahiz is going about around the poor areas of Cairo, stirring up the crowd, saying how the government is letting the English back to their country, trying to run things, trying to change things, that they're stealing things, they're greedy. So when they went to a certain rally, Fatima told Hadia, you were going to stay back here. There was a certain rule that she made up that later Hadia found out and realized it was a lie. There's no such rule as that. So Hadia was so furious when he was talking to a certain male colleague, and the male colleague was like, there's no such rule like that. He went to he went to that raid, and Fatima was so shocked to see her. And then later on, that encounter ensued. The fact that also he talks about racial discrimination, and this one he used the example of America, because before Hadia came back to Cairo and the ministry, she was teaching some place in America, and they were segregated according to color. Then when she came back to Cairo, that's when she realized that this is a problem not just in Cairo but all over. And there was also a scene that Fatima's love interest, after the horror that happened after Al-Jais went to the Brotherhood, they were following leads, and then they went to a certain rich, powerful person. They were Siti, Fatima, and Hadia, and then they would knock the door. The house help open the door, and then the owner came. Then obvious conversation, what they were there for, blah blah blah, and then they were supposed to go in and then interact with that person more. And then that woman was like, no, we're not going, she's not coming into my house, because she was more dark skinned than the rest. And they was like, and this is your fellow Egyptian. As in, that is one thing that usually shocks me, discriminating against your own race just because they're darker than you. Colorism. I was so shocked, but not shocked. But I love that he made commentary on that. I love the bit of mystery and thrill. We still don't know what is the aim of Al-Jais. There are quite a number of supernatural beings. There are jinns, there are ghouls, there are eunuchs, and given this is in a steampunk setting, for those who are not aware what steampunk is, like me, I learned, thank God, to this book. It's the use of steam to power items, locomotives, like train. For Kenyans, that steam train. And it's been quite intriguing. The rest of this book, try and read over the night. That's what exactly I did with the 5th season. I was like, I'm gonna read this book and I'm gonna finish it. Did I do that? No. How many pages? Approximately 240 pages. I know I'll manage. Also, I haven't finished my banting, so I'm on a race. Finish this. So I wanna read because my internet connection is acting up, and I like knitting when I'm watching something. So now I can't continue my amazing race. I will read for that maybe 2 hours, then pause. If the internet is back, finish my banting because I'm almost done. It's almost done. So yeah, I'm gonna read for 2 hours. I hope things get better. So let's read for a few minutes. Hopefully the internet will be back. Hopefully I will finish this so that I can focus on one thing. Hopefully I will finish this before tomorrow, and hopefully I'll have fun in it. I have high expectations about this book. I hope it won't get more than 4 stars for me, but so far so good. I am enjoying it, so that's the best thing about it. It's about 10 o'clock Saturday evening. Because our internet was down, I read like 80 pages, and at the place I am, there's been a lot of political and historical build-up which has added to this world. Not only has Clark expounded on Egypt and some of its ongoing, but the world over. There was a King Summit in Cairo. Before Lord Worthington was murdered, he had started like peace talk, because there are some countries in Europe who are at war. So he started this so as to, what is that word? Peace treaty. I wasn't a fan of history, but this was a way for him to like reach out a golden hand, or is it a golden leaf, so that there might be peace among these countries. During the summit, this Al-Jahiz, who is out to create chaos not in Cairo but also the world over, came and started pitching one person from another, the Russians against the French, the French against Egypt, Egypt trying to calm them down, but the damage was already done. I love the fact that Clark is quite good at describing fight scenes. Those are the things that kept me at the edge of my seat. We're still finding out what's going on. There's been a bit of Djinn, ghouls, and this Ifrit. Ifrit is a fire Djinn. There's been a bit of occurrence of them. The Ministry of Alchemy, Enchantment, and Supernatural Entities was ambushed, and it's down. And given that this was the arm of the government that kind of take controls of these supernatural happenings, Cairo has been, and Egypt all over has been undergoing a bit of turmoil, because now everything is just rampant. There are the people guarding and guiding others from the ghouls and the jinns and all. So that's it been down. There's a bit of chaos. So far so good. That's where I've been. And this Al-Jahiz seems to be a formidable villain. He has points on why he's doing this, but then again, is that the way to do things? Is that the way to do things? And at this point, I feel like I can foresee who's the master of Djinn here, unless there will be a bit of twists. That being said, I want to read for like about 2 hours. Then, because I've not finished the Banting, it's only remaining a few minutes, then I'm done. I thought I would read fast, then finish it, because if I had finished it while watching The Amazing Race, then read, I would have gotten lazy, or I would have decided to binge watch The Amazing Race. So I'm gonna read fast, then finish the Banting, and then I shall update you tomorrow. Hopefully, I will have finished both. If not, either the book or the Banting. Otherwise, I hope you are having an awesome weekend, and I pray that Sunday might be refreshing and rejuvenating. So I shall update in the morning. But this has been quite an awesome experience. I think this will be one of my favorite fantasy reads that I've read this year, aside from the Arabic jargon, because according to the characters, the book they're speaking Arabic. It's just that the book is written in English, so I can understand why. Yeah. Otherwise, I think I will talk and talk and talk and talk. Yet I'm not the best of a storyteller. The irony. Okay, good night. Good night. It's about like a week after the weekend that I was supposed to finish Master of Djinn. I did manage to finish finally. I did, at the time of the book club meeting, I hadn't finished the book, but I attended it. The people were gracious enough to not spoil the book for me, so that I ended up finishing this book. I didn't see I didn't see that twist coming in the end. The villain that I assumed was the villain turned out not to be the villain. And the last 90 pages of this book were quite intense. I kept on turning the pages, and eventually I finished the book. Overall, I gave this book, at the time of the meeting, I gave it 4 stars, but now that I've finished it, I've digested what I read. I was reminiscing on the scenes, on the characters, on the themes. I give it a 4.5 star. That means there's a chance that I might read it sometime in the future. That's how much I love this book. It's unapologetically African. It is set in Egypt, but the themes and some of the experiences that happened in Cairo are things that I can relate to deeply. I didn't see some of the twists coming, and the world building wasn't intense, and I enjoyed a bit of the magic system. There was that bit of the gods that was quite challenging for me, and also the Arabic jargon, but it wasn't so much that it took away from the experience of the book. I especially loved the characters. I loved how vivid and real I felt when I was reading. The flows actually made them quite, relatable. I enjoyed their banter. I laughed during some parts of this book. I learned quite a bit about Cairo. Loved Clark's commentary on anti-colonialism and anti-racism. Some of the themes explored in the books were colorism. There was a bit of that. There was also a bit of talk about colonization. There's a part that one of the characters was like telling us how they came to the Europeans, especially, were trying to like form a group to colonize us because of the magic that was now in Cairo, because back then they didn't have magic until Al-Jahiz opened that portal that introduced Djinn to our world. So they were using like colonization to like curtail this magic. I was like, I see what you did there, Clark. I see what you did there. I love this writing. There's not anything special about his writing style, but I love the fact that it was easy to digest. There's not too much info dumping. For a newbie reader in adult fantasy, this was quite enjoyable. I also love the cover. I love everything about this book. Given the ending, I would love to experience not a story necessarily that follows after this, but a story involving Fatima, Siti, and Hadia, with maybe a different thing to solve, because that's the job. It will be quite enjoyable. And that being said, I would love to like read the prequel, A Dead Djinn in Cairo, because they kind of mentioned some scenes about it in this book. What else do I love about the book? I love the fact that it's not long. I love that it's a I was about to say a non-serial book, but I realized that it's still up in the air. There might be another book. Will I read it? Oh yes. Will I love to read more from Clark? Oh yes, but not Reach Out. I've heard that it's a horror book. I love my sleep. I have an overactive imagination, so no. Otherwise, I really, really, really loved reading this book. This month we're supposed to be reading The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. I don't know how we're gonna do that. I don't know if we're gonna read it, but we're gonna give it a try. Overall, I'd say read this book, especially if you're from an African descent, because it makes sense. And also the fact that he has fueled me more to want to read more of Afro fantasy. So hopefully soon I will be reading a lady's book. So far I have She Who Became Dead. I will start with that one, but in November, if I'm not wrong, we're gonna read the Binti series, which I'm really looking forward to it. Otherwise, let me wrap up this vlog. It's been way too long. It was the first vlog trial, and if you've reached this far in this trial vlog, thank you so much. If there's a book, an Afro fantasy book especially, that you will highly recommend, please drop it on the comment section. And I want to wish you an awesome week. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe. I will really appreciate, especially if you love my content, both here as I'm starting out, or on IG, or on Twitter, or on TikTok. And I would also love to know more about you, so we can interact in the comment section below. Otherwise,